And then this is going to be an accountability podcast as well for both of us. But talk a little bit about what you're working on this year.
This year, I'm going to publish a book. I've never published a book before. And honestly, it's kind of crazy that I even wrote a manuscript, that I completed one, exploring indie publishing as well as trad publishing options right now. I've got a friend working on the cover. Yeah.
I am also doing a couple things in 2026. I've got a short film I've been writing that I've got to do another couple rewrites and then go shoot it this year. So that's one of my big ones. Another is I've got a documentary short I'm working on. And then I've got to write another couple pilots. Still pitching and working on an animated show with my friend.
That's exciting.
It's 2026.
How did it happen?
I had to think about that one again for a sec. Now, did you listen to our last episode that we started the year off with T-Rex Sweeney?
No.
Okay, well, you need to check that one out. That's going to be a big podcast, especially for our Vegas listeners. But here we are, kicking the year off with us. And let's talk about the pod.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about the pod and also what we're doing this year. So first off, we've been around now for 2+ years.
How is that possible?
I don't know. We picked up a mic and here we are. Each podcast has its own life. We have over 170 episodes. Listeners across the globe. I love seeing someone in Austria or Australia. We're just sticking with A's. The Philippines. People listening in Brazil. Or I got a comment from someone in Portugal and I was like, this is fun. It's fun to see people around the world catching on to the pod and finding episodes they like. And for 2026, we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to shake it up. So the first thing is that we are going to break things into seasons and topical seasons so that when we do sacred text, it's not so much like one a month. We're going to do a little bulk of 3 or 4 weeks in a row of sacred text around a topic. One we're working on right now that's going to come out first is about coming of age. We've got religious sacred texts. We're going to do some around certain political or sociological ideas or things that are important to Madison and I. And it's going to be nice to bucket it together. We could have an environmental 4-pack, dig into things. And what we'll do is we'll take some of our older episodes that fit into those topics as well as recording new episodes with other movies we haven't yet discussed. So you get a little bit of both.
Yeah, we're basically combining things that we were doing before with like Militainment or Aliens or whatever and combining it with movies that are really important to us and have more to say than just, as cultural pieces, but our pieces that are important to us as individuals.
Yeah, and looking at what people like to listen to and have really attached to from the podcast, there are a big majority that love the sacred texts. There are some others that really love our breakdowns of shows and series, which we'll do some of those as well still. And there's a different segment that seems to really love interviews with people in the industry. So we're going to keep those things up, but we're going to put them into buckets so that if that's what you like, you get that for 3 or 4 weeks. And there's 4 episodes in a row. You're not looking 1 month to 1 month for what you're looking for. So our hope is to give you more of what you want. In addition, this year's about doing more of what we also want to do.
Yeah.
So, Madison, you've got some big things coming. You've already teased in the pod, but talk a little bit about what you're working on this year.
This year, I'm going to publish a book. I'm going to publish a book this year. I've never published a book before. And honestly, it's kind of crazy that I even wrote a manuscript, that I completed one, because the monkey on my back is procrastination and of losing momentum on projects. But I did it. Last February, I started a manuscript and I finished it like 5 months later. And then the next 6 months has been a lot of beta readers and editing. And I still have momentum. I still have steam. And I'm exploring indie publishing as well as trad publishing options right now. I've got a friend working on the cover. Yeah. And then in the spring/summer, I'm going to be doing a companion podcast with it that will go through each. It's a nonfiction book, people. It's, I'm a thinker and a talker. At some point we'll do fiction, but this is a nonfiction book. And so me and a couple of friends here in Salt Lake are going to go through chapter by chapter and do a companion podcast with to launch with the book.
And perhaps we'll have a companion to the companion podcast kick off here. And we'll just
Yeah,
link, we'll cross post,
we'll
we'll
cross
make sure
post.
if you're interested in what Madison has to say and you want to know more about his book, you're going to get a little taste of that here.
I mean,
And
you've already
then
gotten a little taste of it already, just because I can't help but cross pollinate my ideas.
incarnational mysticism for the win.
Bingo. Oh, and I'm
That's
also going
a
to be going to
bingo.
grad school this fall.
Just a few small things, just a few small beers.
Yeah, a few small beers.
A few small beers. I am also doing a couple things in 2026, and then this is going to be an accountability podcast as well for both of us. I've got a short film I've been writing, this little drone thing. Anyways, I've got a short film I've been writing that I've got to do another couple rewrites and then go shoot it this year. So that's one of my big ones. Another is I've got a documentary short I'm working on with my biological grandpa that lives in LA. Don't really know him much, kind of digging into that a little bit. I have no idea if that's going to materialize into anything more than just a personal project to share with myself and my family, but that's there. And then I've got to write another couple pilots just to have them done. I have some ideas that have been marinating, still pitching and working on an animated show with my friend, but I've got a couple of live action pilots that finally I'm like, okay, it's in a good enough place to get 30 to 50 pages down each and then write some shorts off of it. So this year, yeah, two short films, two pilots, attainable goal easily, hoping to go past that. But I want to get those in a really good spot by the end of the year. So I'll be doing a little more of that as we slow down the podcast a little bit.
Yeah, that's exciting. We'll need to talk at some point because I would love to write fiction.
Hmm.
And I have so many ideas for fiction, but it's so intimidating.
Yeah.
Writing fiction is so intimidating compared to nonfiction, and it's a hurdle that I'll need to get over.
It's almost like being delusional 24/7 from what I've heard from other people.
Yeah.
Is like living in fantasy worlds. I have a friend I'd love to have on the pod at some point that is writing a whole book that involves like the zodiac signs and different rules of magic within the world and different houses and tribes. Anyways, the more he's talking about it, the more I'm like, you just live and daydream and then you write the daydreams down. And he's like, kind of, yes. I take a note, I come back later and I add it to my book that's a couple hundred pages long. It's like, oh,
Oh my gosh.
so yeah, fiction is something different, but that'll be part of our interviews for the year. I really want to have some more writers on, especially as negotiations possibly come up this year for the WGA again. Who knows what'll happen there? Another strike, perhaps. But I'd love to have a few more writers because the last writer we had on, Rob Yescom, who wrote Jackpot that was on Amazon Prime, his episode was one of the most listened to of last year.
Oh wow.
And also, it was super interesting as a aspiring writer and he's a published working screenwriter to hear about his process and how he goes through things and the struggles he faces as well of like yeah you have to treat it as a job sometimes. So
Hmm.
we hope to have a few more writers on this year for those who are interested in writing. It's a very interesting topic. Before we go, if anyone's wondering what our top episode of last year was, it was Madison and I shitting on Severance season 2. Not
Rightly
just shitting
so.
on, rightly critiquing the season 2 finale was the most listened to episode.
Damn.
I don't get reactions. I don't know if people agree with us or don't, but that definitely got the most listens in 2025.
Look, I'm telling you, I think there's like a secret majority who just doesn't want to speak up because they're afraid of their judgment of their friends. Because I've done it. I've been at the bar with my friends and have been the one person that's like, actually, I've got some criticism of Severance and I've just been dogpiled on. And so I
Yeah.
think that there's a silent majority of people who, think that it could be better.
And it could be, and it'll be another 2 years before we get a season 3. So you know what? We got all the time in the world to talk
Not bad.
about. And while we're on the last little bit before we sign off for today, whoever are fans that were the top 10 show for, or the fans were a top 5 show for, or that were your number one show, DM us. Who are you? We want to know. We want to know what you like. We want to know what you want to listen to because we want to get more of that in the podcast. And it helps us understand not only what's working, but what people want to listen to. If it's just us ramble about incarnational mysticism, Gnostic ideas, and our Mormon trauma, in addition to movies, we got more of that coming. So do reach out, and we'll be back again soon with more episodes, like we said in our first little batch about coming of age, sacred texts. And until then, watch good movies.